The X Factor, once a show that gave us real spine-tingling moments, a platform that turned everyday people into global superstars. Now, it's basically a glorified meme factory where talent is optional, backstories are mandatory, and the only real winners are the producers raking in ad revenue. So, what exactly led to its downfall? Was it the overuse of sob stories, the fake drama, or the sheer predictability? How did the X Factor go from launching icons to becoming a parody of itself? Buckle up, because we're diving into the rise and spectacular downfall of the X Factor. Spoiler alert, fake drama and Simon Cowell's endless hunger for TV dominance. But before we get into the downfall, let's rewind to where it all began. Let's rewind to 2004. The early 2000s were peak talent show era. American Idol was already dominating the US, and Simon Cowell, our favorite brutally honest British judge, thought, you know what this needs? More me.
American Idol, and I think this new series, it is a reality show.
And so, the X Factor was born in the UK. The premise? Simple. A panel of judges, contestants competing in different categories, and the search for the X Factor, that special star quality that made an artist unique. It was fresh. It was exciting. Most importantly, it felt real, like a genuine hunt for raw, undiscovered talent. The first few seasons gave us some incredible artists. Leona Lewis, Alexandra Burke, One Direction. Yes, the biggest boy band of the 2010s was basically an X Factor group project. It was the place to discover the next big music sensation. Audiences were hooked. Millions tuned in every week. The judges' banter was actually fun. The contestants seemed like they were there for the music, and the winners had a real shot at a career. Back then, winning X Factor actually meant something. But as the years went on, that meaning started to fade. Slowly, the show became less about talent and more about everything else. So where did it start going wrong? Well, let's talk about the formula. You know the one. Contestant walks on stage. Judges ask them what they do for a living.
That's all right, mate. Don't worry.
Cue overly dramatic violin music, the kind that makes you feel like you're watching the emotional climax of a soap opera. I work in a grocery store, but my real dream is to sing. Cut 2. A heart-wrenching sob story about how their goldfish died when they were 5, and they've been singing to fill the void ever since.
You've obviously had a difficult life. Has music helped you?
Yeah, it showed me that I'm worth a little something.
Okay.
Cue dramatic pause. Judges nod sympathetically. Contestants start singing. The camera zooms in on a single tear rolling down their cheek. Audience cheers. Judges give a standing ovation. Cut to black. It was emotional manipulation at its finest. And at first it worked. Who doesn't love a good underdog story? But soon it became predictable, forced. Every contestant suddenly had a tragic backstory. And if you didn't, well, good luck getting airtime. And then came the gimmicks. Remember when it was about raw talent? Yeah, neither does the X Factor. Suddenly, the auditions weren't just auditions. They were spectacles. People showed up in chicken costumes. Yes, actual chicken costumes. Remember Wagner from season 7?
What's your name?
My name is Wagner Fiuza Carrilho.
That was just the beginning of the absurdity. Some contestants couldn't sing a single note, but got pushed through for entertainment purposes. The focus shifted from discovering artists to creating viral moments. Oh, and let's talk about the judges. Back in the day, we had a solid panel of industry professionals. Now, every season was a game of musical chairs. One season, it's Cheryl Cole, then Nicole Scherzinger, then Rita Ora, then Sharon Osbourne. By the end, it felt like they were just picking names out of a hat. And if the rotating panel wasn't chaotic enough, let's not forget Cheryl Cole, fired because of her accent, only to win a £1.4 million lawsuit against the show. And Simon Cowell, he went from brutally honest to whatever gets ratings. One moment, he's slamming a contestant for being too theatrical. The next, he's praising someone dressed as a literal carrot. And let's not forget the auto-tune scandal. Yep. In 2010, it was exposed that X Factor was using auto-tune during auditions. Because why let real voices shine when you can manufacture perfection? The cracks were showing. And the audience? They noticed. Viewership started declining. The magic was fading, and X Factor was about to hit rock bottom. But wait, we're not done yet. Because if you thought auto-tune and sob story overload were bad, let's talk about the manufactured drama. Remember the spontaneous arguments between judges? Yeah, not so spontaneous. Producers actively encouraged conflict, sometimes even scripting it. Contestants were selected based on how well their personalities would clash, rather than how well they could sing. And when the actual talent pool started running dry, the show started relying on shocking eliminations just to keep people talking. Suddenly, it wasn't about finding the next music star. It was about keeping headlines rolling. Viewers were getting played, and they knew it. Let's not forget the contracts. Oh boy. Winning. The X Factor wasn't always a golden ticket. Just ask Matt Cardle, 2010's winner, who was overshadowed by the runner-ups, Hi, One Direction. In fact, many winners found themselves trapped in restrictive contracts that limited their creative control. Some were even dropped from the label within a year. Turns out, winning wasn't the dream they thought it was. It was just another cog in the reality TV machine. By the time we hit the late 2000s and 10s, the X Factor was running on fumes. Ratings had plummeted. People had moved on to fresher formats. Shows like The Voice had taken over, offering a more authentic talent competition, even though, let's be real, they had their own issues too. Simon Cowell tried to revive the franchise with spin-offs like X Factor, Celebrity, and X Factor, the band, but the ratings were dismal. X Factor, Celebrity barely scraped 1 million viewers, an embarrassing drop from its peak of 17 million. At that point, the audience had checked out. The magic was gone. The format was tired, and the X Factor finally met its demise. And that, my friends, is how one of the biggest talent shows of all time fell from grace. So, what was the final nail in the coffin? And more importantly, was the X Factor's downfall just a symptom of something bigger? The slow and painful death of the traditional talent show format. The moment that turned the X Factor from a beloved talent show into a total joke? Well, let's talk about Honey G. Yes, that Honey G. The middle-aged rapper from season 13 who somehow made it to the live shows despite rapping like a malfunctioning AI bot.
You can keep that. I'm a Big Mac, make you want to eat that like
And the worst part, the show knew she wasn't good. They wanted her there.
Yeah, see you at boot camp. See you at boot camp.
Why? Because by this point, the producers had fully embraced the fact that people weren't watching for talent anymore. They were watching for the circus. By the late 2000s and 10s, the X Factor had become a parody of itself. It stopped being about music and turned into a bizarre mix of reality TV, soap opera drama, and low-budget comedy. Forget discovering the next Adele. Contestants were now being chosen based on how memeable they were. And if you think this was rock bottom, oh no. There's more. Remember that whole shock elimination tactic? The show started eliminating actual talented contestants just to create controversy. Fans would rage on Twitter, but at the end of the day, it was all just manufactured chaos. At one point, it was even accused of being rigged. Leaked footage showed producers coaching contestants on what to say during their emotional backstory interviews. And suddenly, it became painfully obvious. The X Factor wasn't a talent show anymore. It was a reality show with a pre-written script. By 2014, the damage was done. Fox officially pulled the plug on the X Factor USA, and Simon Cowell, once the mastermind behind the franchise, packed his bags and returned to the UK version.
Honest. Oh. There's more girls.
If that's not a sign of a sinking ship, I don't know what is. There was also the issue of overexposure. Back in the early 2000s, there were only a handful of talent shows competing for attention. But as the years went on, the X Factor had to battle The Voice, Britain's Got Talent, and a whole army of online singing competitions. People were no longer limited to watching hopefuls on TV. They could go on YouTube and find independent artists with raw, unfiltered talent.
Baby, would you please?
The novelty wore off. The audience got tired, and worst of all, they got bored. So, what's left of the X Factor today? Well, nothing. The show got canceled in 2021 after years of free-falling ratings. Turns out audiences don't enjoy being emotionally played like a fiddle. Who would have guessed? And honestly, can you blame them? The show became so predictable, people could tell exactly what was going to happen before it even aired. The tragic backstory stopped being emotional and started feeling like a scripted checklist. The contestant meltdowns felt staged. Even the unexpected eliminations stopped being shocking when everyone knew they were planned for maximum drama. The audience caught on, and the internet took over. One of the most infamous moments? The Ablisa audition. A chaotic disaster where two best friends insulted the judges, got booed by the audience, and ended up physically fighting each other on stage.
The singing was not great, girls. Who are you?
Clips of their audition spread like wildfire, not because of their talent, but because of how utterly ridiculous it was. Memes flooded the internet with reaction GIFs and viral sound bites cementing the X Factor as an unintentional comedy goldmine rather than a serious music competition. Twitter exploded with users mocking the show's formula. Reddit threads popped up dissecting every manufactured moment. TikTok is still full of clips exposing how fake the show was. People started watching old X Factor clips not because they missed the show, but because they were hilarious in retrospect. What was once seen as an iconic music competition was now meme material, a relic of a time when reality TV wasn't afraid to hide its puppet strings. And what about the winners? Most of them disappeared into the void. If you weren't One Direction, Little Mix, or Leona Lewis, chances are your music career lasted about as long as an X Factor audition. Some winners were dropped by their record labels within months. Others were never given a fair shot at success to begin with. The show promised dreams, but for most, it delivered disappointment. The real winners weren't the contestants. It was the judges and producers. Simon Cowell turned the franchise into a billion-dollar empire. The show wasn't designed to find the next music legend. It was designed to keep him at the top of the entertainment industry. And when people stopped watching, he simply moved on to the next project, leaving behind a graveyard of forgotten singers. Even the judges started jumping ship. Gone were the days of a consistent panel with industry veterans. One season had Cheryl Cole and Louis Walsh. The next, it was Nick Grimshaw and Rita Ora, followed by Robbie Williams and his wife. The constant reshuffling made the show feel less like a professional competition and more like a desperate attempt to stay relevant by throwing in whoever was popular at the time. There was no consistency in the panel. Every season, new celebrities were brought in, often with little connection to the music industry. Some were just there to boost their own careers, making the whole show feel even less about talent and more about brand deals and PR stunts. At the end of the day, the X Factor didn't just collapse, it imploded under the weight of its own artificiality. The show had spent so many years pretending to be about music while really being about drama, controversy, and viral moments, that by the time people wanted something real, it had nothing left to offer. With the X Factor gone, the real question is, can talent shows ever make a comeback? So, can the X Factor ever make a comeback? Well, no, not in its original form. People don't trust talent shows anymore. We've seen behind the curtain and we know it's all smoke and mirrors. The biggest issue isn't just that the X Factor became predictable, it's that the entire industry changed. When the show first aired, reality TV was fresh. People were willing to believe that what they were seeing was real. But now, audiences are more cynical. They know when a moment is fake. They know when a contestant is being set up for failure. And they definitely know when a winner is being chosen based on marketability rather than talent. Could there be a new talent show that actually focuses on, talent? Maybe. But it would have to be radically different. No sob stories, no gimmicks, no producer-manufactured drama. Just real talent. But let's be honest. Would we even watch that? Or do we secretly love the chaos? Maybe the X Factor didn't change. Maybe we did. We moved on. The internet gave us instant access to music. We didn't need a TV show to tell us who was talented anymore. Social media made it possible for anyone to become famous without waiting for Simon Cowell's approval. Platforms like TikTok and YouTube turned regular people into stars overnight, without the need for manipulative producers pulling the strings. And with that, we say goodbye to the X Factor, the show that started with dreams and ended with memes. It had its moment. It shaped pop culture. It created some of the biggest stars in music. But in the end, it became exactly what it once stood against. A manufactured spectacle designed to keep the machine running, no matter the cost. Rest in peace, X Factor. Or at least rest in reruns on YouTube, where your best and worst moments will live on forever. Subscribe for more deep dives into the rise and fall of pop culture icons. Because let's be honest, just like the X Factor, you know you'll come back for more drama.